What is a healthy eye?
40 weeks for men. 40 weeks for men. 40 weeks for men.
So, today the question is, what is your focus? So in week 30 of gestational development, and we're thinking about the baby developing in the womb with the uterus at week 30. So we're going to talk about that today. Trying to educate, witness the man experience, talk about society at large, and call listeners to action. So let's learn together to start with. So at week 30, we're focusing on the eyes. So yeah, with the eyes, at this point, at week 30, study of the developing baby in the womb shows us that the eyes can focus now. So if you shine a light on the eyes, they will focus even as small as week 30 in the womb. The eyes are focusing now, which is pretty amazing. But there is something to tell you. At this point, the baby is developing its focus of eyes, and its eyesight will continue to improve or develop inside and outside the uterus or womb. And it's really important to note as well that even though the eyes are developing the ability to focus, focusing on stationary objects is easier for a developing baby. But then when the objects start to move, it's more difficult. So you'll notice this if you have a baby, not you plants, but you listeners. You'll notice this later on, that until about 3 months, the baby may struggle to track a moving object with its eyes, and actually that's a milestone, but it will be able to focus on stationary objects as soon as the baby is born. So it's really important to note here as well, babies usually are very nearsighted. What I mean by nearsighted, the fancy word for it is myopic. What I mean by nearsighted is that they can see things quite well up to like 20-25 centimeters, quite close to their face. But then when things get further away, it's very difficult to see very young as soon as you've been born. So they're born quite nearsighted. Now it's time to witness my experience. So thinking about eyesight, I think it's amazing because, like, I look at the time we're recording now, my first daughter is about 7 years old, and the other day she came to me with a poem that she wrote herself. And I've actually recorded episodes of stories that she's written herself as well, and I'll try and link that in the description so you can listen to it if you want to. But it's amazing how, like, now she's writing things and she's the one reading things. And, there was a point when all she could do was focus with her eyes. All she could do at week 30 was focus on a stationary object. And maybe as she got a bit older, she would get better at tracking moving objects. And now she's writing her own and reading her own stories and poems. And the growth there is amazing to see for myself. And it really brings me joy. Now it's time to talk about society at large. So here we go back to the Bible and go back to the paper, the old school paper today. So I think a really good verse, since we are focused on the eyes, a really good verse for us to read today is Matthew chapter 6, verse 22. So I'll go ahead and read it from the English Standard Version and just find the page. The eyes are the lamp of the body. If your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. Yeah. So like we're in this one verse, we're given 3 different statements here that I think are pretty amazing. So if your eye is the eye is the lamp of the body. That's the first one. The eye is the lamp of the body. So if you've Um, you know what I mean. If you at night time or when it's dark, trying to get something for your pregnant partner, or you being the pregnant partner trying to get something for yourself, or trying to get to the toilet, you know how important it is to have light. So I have a lamp. Or let's say you're trying to get to your son or daughter's nursery in the middle of the dark, which is also very common. You'll know how important it is to have a lamp there to be able to see. And I know not everyone can see, and actually some babies are born blind, and some people become blind as they get older in adulthood, and it's important to be aware of that. But being able to see is a real good thing. And actually, this reminds us that the eye is the lamp to the body. That's the first statement. The second statement is if your eye is healthy, if your eye is healthy. So the question here is really, what is a healthy eye? Is that just talking about physical health? Is it just talking about being able to see things well at a far distance and a close distance, colors? Is it just talking about visual acuity? Or is it talking about something more about having healthy eyes? Is it talking about what we put into ourselves? What goes in? Because then it goes on to say, if your eyes are healthy, third statement, your whole body will be full of light. Your whole body will be full of light. Now, we live in a dark world. I don't need to give examples. You can see it on the news. We live in a very dark world and we need light. And here we're being told in the Bible that, if your eye is healthy, the eye is the lamp of the body, and if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. I think this is encouraging because we can be intentional about what our eye gets into it, and we can be intentional about keeping our eyes healthy. This might be something as simple as going for an eye test once a year. It might be something as important as being careful what you watch or what you see. So now it's time to call listeners to action. So the call to action this week is, what is your focus? What is your focus, listeners? What is your focus? What will you focus on? As we look at the developing baby at week 30, and we can see that it's really starting to being able to focus on stationary objects, and it's very good at that. It's learning how to do that in the womb, in the midst of inside the mum's tummy. But I think we need to ask ourselves, what will we focus on? Because that will influence how we live in this world, in this very dark world. That's the call to action this week. Remember, this is all for families.